Damn, algorithm must be slow tonight. Welcome in. If you're maga, make sure to join up or comment. Let's get some chat going. I'm gonna restart the TikTok live, but I'll say live on YouTube. We'll wait a minute. Just let it reset. There we go. I want to do a reaction. I just saw a video that came out. It was like it was on some like podcast show, not podcast. It was like a Jubilee type show, but it was like different. But there was some guy trying to like justify the Ukrainian invasion with like he didn't seem to know what he was talking about. But I think it'd be cool to react to. Destiny was one of the ones debating it, and there was some other guy, some Aussie. I'd probably make a good video. Alright, I'm gonna go back live on TikTok. Welcome back, guys, on TikTok. Welcome in. If you're a maga, join up. Was he awesome, Mike? What has he done that's been awesome? You wanna come up and tell us how? Welcome in. Mike, how is he the greatest president? We'll make some that. What stands out to you? Welcome in, everyone else. If you're maga, join up, join up. Or comment if you're maga. Let's get a conversation started. They need to impeach him, true. But they're not going to. That's like why we have to win the midterms. Because if we don't, there's nothing left to do. Essentially. Yeah. Somehow they went from the party of high prices are the worst thing in modern American history to high prices are the definition of a true American. Forgot people support McClellan? True. They do. He's done more since he's been in office than Biden or most presidents in their whole term. Okay, sure. Just because you sign a bunch of like useless and illegal executive orders doesn't mean you're doing more than someone else. Doing more would be like actually signing EOs or getting bills passed Congress that actually benefit the American people. So far, he's done nothing when it comes to real things to benefit the American people. Everything he's done is either just like random shit or something totally illegal. Are you in a state that banned it, Iris? Oh. Oh, Texas. Oh, wow. Yeah, that he didn't close the borders, Mike. He did. He's actually done more illegal things for the border this term than he even attempted to do last term. So he was gonna illegally send people to El Salvador to go to in prison though? Yes. He said he wants to see about sending homegrowns American citizens to CCONs and that they need to build 4 more. By the way, you can't just send American citizens to fucking torture camps. Just, maybe that's uncommon knowledge, but like, can't do that, You can't send anyone to a torture camp just because you don't like what their skin color is. It's not exactly possible. Except for we're seeing it in real time. I mean, he said some like weird stuff about the election. He didn't really admit to like rigging it though. I mean, 2020, yeah, he did attempt to overthrow it internally and through inciting an insurrection, but I don't know about the 2024. The problem with like MAGA is they think like immigration is just so bad when it's so helpful. It's good. Hi, Lavish.
Hey, friend. I'm going to be extremely nice to you because I have to, of course. So, why do you hate my Donnie, mi Trompito? Why do you hate him so much?
Why do you support Donald Trump?
Well, because you've first of all, you try to put him in jail. You try to unalive him. Besides that, you diminish Mar-a-Lago to $2 million, which it was not worth that. Rogan would have bought that shit if it was worth $2 million. I like this guy. I genuinely like this guy. I relate to him. I don't
You
know who he
relate
made
to a
us relate
convicted
to.
sexual abuser?
Yeah, never convicted though, right? You try to put him in
He
jail.
was held
Have you
civilly liable
convicted
of it,
him?
and he was convicted of 34 felonies.
No, he was not.
Yes, he
Otherwise, he would
was.
be in fucking jail.
No, that's not how convictions
Okay.
work.
Well, look, you look at it the way you want to look at it. The fact is that he's in the fucking White House,
The
and that's the
fact
fucking
is,
reality that you
he
live
was
in. All right?
convicted
Is he
of
not in the
34
White House?
felonies. The fact is, he was convicted of 34 felonies, whether you like it or not. In the state of New York, you don't have to go to jail to be convicted or found guilty of a crime. So is all you're really up here to say is that he's in the White House? Is that like your hot take? Is that your whole argument? Are you gonna stay muted? There you go. Okay, bye. I'm glad to hear that, Arctic. I really am. And you're always free to ask questions here, of course, or anywhere else. What's up, Lot? Why do you support Trump? Okay. What, the fake charges? You mean the perfectly legitimate charges that he was convicted on 34 counts and he had a total of 94 indictments, I think it was? You mean the held civilly liable of sexual abuse, or, you know, that? Like, which one's fake? I forgot. The justice system is only rigged when it comes to Donald Trump and like some high-ranking Republicans, but for everyone else, it's, you know, perfectly fine, clean cut. You know, always trusted then. He had said that he's dated his daughter if she was older and she was younger. Yeah, it's just fucked. Yeah, it is unfortunately gross. Or like unfortunately that he's gross. Hey, what's up, Jazz? Good to see you. Went live really late tonight. Um but I was busy all night. I went to the movies, saw The Accountant too. That was good. Streaming really slow. Actually, I've had to restart it twice because algorithm sucks tonight. But it's probably just me going live late. But I did start streaming on YouTube, and I fixed up my Discord. So if you guys want to join that, and that's also there now. Um, I'm hoping to kind of do what my friend is doing and like offshoring debates, so I can get more longer debates, and for like longer debates, which would be good. Texan, have you read any of the actual court cases, any of the indictments, anything on those? Or did you just like hear a few names and then thought you knew everything about it? Or like you think you found something because I think it was like the prosecutor was the ex top like DOJ official, which is normally what top officials do in the government do after they don't want to work in the federal government anymore. They'll go to like local counties or states. Yeah, that's pretty normal actually. Critical, yeah, yeah, they are. A lot of them are. I don't want to say all, but like a lot. And it's even on the ones that are like not necessarily cultish, they still like are leaking of like cult rhetoric. Like they don't even notice it anymore. Even the ones I talk to that are like relative, like they're saying they, you know, they I understand those people's like the ones that are like relatively sane, because most of them are just like they don't pay attention to politics. All they pay attention to is like on the surface. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Someone who doesn't pay attention to politics, you know, they're just gonna kind of like see things, blame whoever's in office, and it's like, okay, yeah, sure, without like understanding it. Um, and like even 2016 Trump, I would have understood more, but like now it's just like it doesn't make sense anymore. You have to be like cult minded. I feel like to even get to the point of supporting Trump anymore. I mean, even Ben Shapiro is turning his back on Donald Trump. Most Republican like influencers outside of like a few are turning on him. Penny, why do you support Donald Trump? Come on up. Hell no. Hell yeah. That's good. That's good. Welcome in, Adi. Oh no.
Who do you think has a bigger dick, Barack Obama?
I figured something was bad gonna come out of that. Although I did look at their profile, I think that Spark had something else other than the SS. No, Shy, you're like 13. Static may arrest for no reason. Oh, rip. I don't know. That kind of happens. I'm not sure how to fix that. Are they AirPods? AirPods do that sometimes. Or are they like other ones? Or is it my mic? Maybe that's what's causing it. Although I don't know how to fix that. Hi Kimberly. Oh, Bose. Feature mic? Maybe. I'm not sure. I don't know how to fix it though. I have I don't know what's going on with my mic. It's pretty low. It has filters on it. I even have crisp on. Let's see. Test. Test. Oh, that is my mic. That is my mic. I don't know how to fix that. Nails because yeah. I don't know. I have no idea what's causing that. Hmm. Test. That's quieter, but that should be okay. No, nothing's happening against it. It's just like sitting here. Never know. Could be. I don't know if that's too quiet now though, but I guess we'll see. You find it? All right, we're in. Should be right. Hopefully more maga come in. I need to get one debate tonight. That's it. I had a guy earlier on the first time I went live. He just conceded. Are you up so late? Because my sleep schedule is backwards. And I drank caffeine at like 8 o'clock. So I am wide awake. I'm ready to go for another hours. I gotta figure out copyright rights on YouTube. Because there's a video I want to react to. Because there's some dumb fuck who went on a like Jubilee type thing. I don't know what it was. Spewing lies on Russia, Ukraine. Alright, sounds good, Iris. Appreciate you stopping by. If your coffee is still next to you, based. Here it is. It was like Russia was justified in invading Ukraine, and this guy didn't even name he didn't name a single reason why it was justified. Yet he kept stating that it was justified, and like just random shit that just wasn't even true. Alright, sounds good, Kimberly. Thanks for coming by. Appreciate you. What's up, Will? Um, I I don't even know what that's supposed to mean. Everyone wants to like make America great, so I guess when we talk about like maga, we're talking about like the specific version that Trump has created and like has pushed. Wonder what the copyright is on TikTok. Could react to it, I guess, on here. What do you mean, Will? With the red, get the red. Something I quote on a daily basis. Is that bad? That's based. Red wave, but instead of a red wave in Congress, it's a red wave in the stock markets. No more free insurance for them? For who? Who are we talking about? Sophia, you wanna come on up? We can discuss what I'd want. Oh. Hello, Broken.
Hello.
Why do you
How are you?
Good. Why do you support Donald J. Trump?
Um, because I think that he's gonna unearth like so he is like the Antichrist, not literally, but like figuratively speaking, like he's terrible. But what he does is he like exposes how rotten like the American culture and society has become, and like Trump is like a symptom of like a dying empire essentially. And he basically puts it on display that this country has become a circus and that the institutions that we were raised to have trust in are just a joke. And if he never became president, we would have just keep like living in ignorance about it. But like he basically like broadcasts that like, yeah, this shit sucks. So I think in the long run, his existence was a good thing because it's going to cause more change in the right direction. Sort of how like when you go to the gym and you're done lifting weights, your muscles are sore, but that's the only way you get stronger. So I think the bad he's going to do is going to cause such a backlash that will move so far in the right direction.
Are you a
That's why
communist?
I think if AI is involved, then yeah, I think communism can only work with automation.
What do you mean by that?
I think you know, if automation is doing all of the labor, then of course we should have like a universal basic income and like nobody should need to have to work.
That's
But
not what communism is.
you know, like I'm not like a well versed communist,
Are
no,
you
but
are you a leftist or like you right wing? Are you conservative?
I'm like I wouldn't even say I'm a centrist because I like dislike both the right and the left. I think they're both like ideological like monsters, and I just kind of think about what's in my best
Are you
interest
an
of my family.
anarchist?
I guess I would lean towards that, yeah, but I don't have like a specific label. I just think like the West is like I'll put it this way: I think the West is a corpse, and the left is rooting for the maggots that are eating it, and the right is rooting for the corpse.
So who should we be more like?
Um, like I think we should form like a totally new system that's based around like artificial intelligence, just like governing society and like dishing out resources and stuff like that. And I think that's the way society's going to go in like the next 50 years once we achieve artificial general intelligence.
I mean, like, yeah, AI is like slowly taking over already. It was supposed to be like 20% of jobs taken by AI by like 2040. Like, sure, but AI as a governing tool is still pretty bad. I mean, humans are still the one controlling it, are still the ones training it, are still the ones giving it all its ideas. AI only functions based on the intelligence of human beings. It only gathers intelligence from us. It, scours the internet for everything that we put out.
For
So
now.
um,
So once we
for
achieve
2028.
artificial general intelligence, that means the AI becomes free thinking and free learning. It could then train itself, and it will exponentially grow at such a rapid rate that it'll essentially become a god within like a few years.
Yeah,
And that's
I'm not gonna be for that. I don't have any
it,
trust in
it won't matter what we want. It'll be like asking a tornado to not destroy your house. It's like
well,
it's a,
if we can prevent tornadoes from existing, that's, to prevent natural disasters, we can easily do that, or we can keep it at a
right, but
level where we can continue to
we
have
can't
control over it.
we can't prevent AI from existing in the West because China's just going to do it if we don't. So it doesn't matter. China doesn't care about what you think or what you want. They're going to produce AI anyway.
China's still human beings. They're not gonna want to like allow another species to take them over. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about like a human being. We're talking about another species who's going to want to fight for its own survival. If it sees fit that humans are the biggest threat to AI's existence, they're going to take out human beings.
How about this? How about we have the discussion under the lens that AI won't exist? We'll just hypothetical. So, what is my
Sure.
political views under that lens? Because I sort of got this is my
I don't
fault. I
know.
put us on a tangent. I put us on a tangent.
That's the
So
thing. I don't
let's.
know. You have very like communist rhetoric, along with like very
I
anarchist views, along with like very technocratic like ones.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
yeah. So I think basically what it is no matter what governance system you have, we'll put the AI stuff aside. Let's just pretend AI
Yeah.
is not going to be a thing. Um, I think no matter what system of governance we are, like humankind forms hierarchies. In capitalism, it's the CEO. In communism, it's the commissar. But really, what it comes down to is we need to create a society where we acknowledge that there will always be an elite and there will always be like a middle class, but we need to create a system where the ceiling is still high, where people can like get wealthy, but the floor is also high, so that the average person has a good life, and
You're
that
just
the
talking about
elite.
you're just talking about like optimal capitalism that already exists.
I don't think that does, because there's such
Yeah,
a massive disparity like between
you're
the rich and the poor.
in like America, sure, but there's other capitalistic societies that do capitalism different, or they have different outcomes within capitalism based on the way they regulate it in their country. I mean, I'd even use like China, Norway, France, Sweden, Finland are all pretty solid examples of like where the high is still pretty high, but the low class is like still living pretty well. Middle class is still living pretty well.
Yeah, like if we could have a
Capitalism generates
society
really
where
good outcomes when it comes to economic growth.
right. So if we could have a society where like an average Joe Schmo can like live a middle class life and like be able to pay his rent and have a car and food in his fridge and a cell phone, and he could go out on the weekends with his friends and go to a Yankees game and have fun, but rich people can also still get rich. I think for me personally, I would have no problem with a
Yeah, that
system like that.
exists.
Yeah, so then I guess to answer your question, that's the system I would align with. But to your prompt is the reason why I think Trump is an overall good thing is because he's going to cause a rapid acceleration in the opposite
Oh,
direction.
so you're an accelerationist. Okay, okay.
Essentially, yeah, I think he's going to cause such. Well, I don't want the society to collapse. Accelerationism is usually tied to like people wanting society to collapse.
Usually.
I don't want that. I just think there's going to be such a backlash from like the right wing bigotry and ignorance and rot from Trump that like I don't think the Republicans are ever going to win another election again, and
I mean,
that
they
wouldn't
will.
have been and that wouldn't have been the case if not for Trump, because Trump is making them look so bad with the tariffs. Even I know Republicans in my personal life that are like, "Oh, he's ruining my stock portfolio." Like they're even admitting it too. So like he is
Okay,
he you get where I'm coming from? Do you see my point?
I disagree on the accelerationist part of like wanting to tear down American systems because I think largely they were doing fine. I think a lot of it has to do with the laws that we have, the way we're governing a bit. I think we could
More like
influence that
culturally,
quite a
like
bit though.
our culture is so rotten and
How?
like I mean, I live in New York. I'm not gonna say where
Yeah,
exactly. I don't
don't.
live in the
Yeah.
city, but New York State, and even in Democrat New York State, I'm surrounded by racist, bigoted, homophobic, transphobic people all the time, every day. And I think that like the Trumpism is like gonna go so far in the wrong direction that the pendulum will swing more towards progressive social values, because I have progressive social values, and I think overall it's the only way that will face the rot in the eye, because like so many people are bigoted, and if it weren't for MAGA, you wouldn't know it. They would just keep it to themselves.
I
But
mean,
MAGA makes them vocal about it, and now we see the rot. We're like it makes us aware of this cultural rot that we've just been ignoring for decades.
I don't necessarily think that's the case. I mean, we saw with like gay marriage being legalized, and then like the majority of people just like forgot about it and was like, "Oh yay, gay marriage!" Like a lot of people just have this like instinctual thing that they're pitted against, usually social values, and then the second it gets legalized after like 10 years, they just completely fucking forget about it, and then
That's a
it's just
good
become
point.
normalized. Like if Harris won, we would have had a massive like permanent step in the direction of a pretty progressive social culture,
Look, Ben, I'm
like
gonna be
pretty
honest
progressive
with you.
values.
I just got back from the bar an hour ago. I'm pissed drunk, and I just felt like fucking around and having some fun. I don't believe half the shit I said to you.
Okay,
I just kind of felt like shooting the shit. But anyway, thanks for having me on.
of
Have a great
course.
day.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a bit all over the place, but chill guy. Um, okay, what did I miss? What did I miss, chat? I have no idea. Sophia, you wanna come up and chat about maga and whatever else? Oh, okay. Wait, then why do you have it? Why does she have an opinion on maga? What's the point? Can't even vote. I mean, it's good that you like get involved in politics at a young age. I did that, but like at the same time, you shouldn't be like so confident in like your political values or even like religious values for that case. I wish I was more like open minded when I was younger. I was like a fucking hardcore atheist for most of my teenage years. I just wish I was more open-minded. Family, yeah, that does play a lot in it. Family, community. Yeah, that's the thing, Sophia. I mean, I obviously that's gonna happen, but you're younger. You're at such a young age that you don't even know of 90% of the religions that exist in the world. You I mean, of course I'm not going to tell you what to do. You have your own beliefs and you're entitled to that. I just know from experience of exploring faiths, even right now that I'm exploring my faith, it's there's a lot. A lot that are extremely similar, that come from very similar regions, that have very similar stories, and then they'll have like one insane difference, and then you're stuck for like 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, a year, figuring out which one's the actual one. You know, some fake saints. What are you talking about? Are you not Catholic? Atheist to Christian to agnostic back to Christian. Oh my goodness. That's fair though. Uh, there unfortunately, and maybe you are pretty set in your faith. Maybe you like really do believe that. I see a lot of people though like end up reconverting back to Christianity because of like they just have like backpack Jesus that they're just like really scared of like going to hell. Like what if it is true? Like maybe it is, and it's probably just best that I believe in it and worship it. I hope that's not what happened to you, and I hope that you're like really that you love it. I do not believe in Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, Sophia. I do. I am spiritual. I am unsure if I believe in a God or not. I'm exploring my faith. If I did, it would not be Christianity. I'm like kind of balancing between like Sikhism, Hinduism, and Judaism on what I'm exploring. All very similar concepts of gods. Hinduism, Sikhism share almost every story going back thousands of years. And then we have like minor differences that I'm kind of like trying to sort out, ways we practice. Judaism is like theologically uh, almost identical to like Sikhism or Hinduism, but then you have like obviously different stories, different scripture. And how did the Earth get here? It formed a long time ago, 4.5 billion years ago. Gravity brought us together. Sun, gravitational pulls from, I forgot what it was. Wasn't it like I don't remember the story. All I know is that sun, big gravity draw things in. Two things collided. Earth got here, something like that. Big Bang Theory. Yeah, that's the universe. But for like the Earth, it was something else. I have a few books that I have one book that I need to read on the beginning of the universe, and the scientific theory behind the Big Bang, and then I have another one. I think I can't remember it though. It's called a universe from nothing. I think it's what it's called. It's supposed to be really good, and like very like mathematically good, but also simplistic enough to where you don't need to know the math. How was the world made? See, that's where we have to start. Is with the language we use, right? When we say made, we're implying that it had a creator. I don't necessarily think that the world, being like the Earth, had a creator necessarily. Which is why I'm mostly drawn to like Eastern religions. There's less of an implication on like theological like truth claims and more on the philosophy and like history of it. I don't know how to explain it. There's less on like truth claims um compared to like Abrahamic religions and like Middle Eastern religions. That's about not believing in God, but once I went to church, my whole life changed. I mean, yeah, that happens, you know. And I'm not here to like tell you what to do. You do what you want, of course. I guess I'm just like speaking from my experience, like what I wish I kind of did differently. I think it's decent advice too. I mean, yeah, I used to go to church. I used to go to mass. It was a good feeling. I don't deny that there wasn't like anything there. It wasn't bad, but I don't think that was necessarily because like God or Jesus was there. There are like religious phenomena where like your brain will simply just like impose feelings or like convince yourself based on the setting or based on what you're thinking, how much you're thinking it, how much you're dreaming. Like dreams play a bigger part into it of like convincing your brain. I think it is just called religious phenomena or something like that. It plays a lot on like the feelings you feel when you're partaking in religious practices, and of course, going to religious institutions actually increases the likelihood of you believing in a certain deity, which is like why people in Saudi Arabia have obviously like a really high belief rate in Islam and a very low, like super low deconversion rate because like the community and society in which they're in pretty much, you know, tells you to go out and worship. They send you to mosques, prayer time every day. The call to prayer is, publicly available. In places like Poland, there's a church on every other street corner, and obviously the Christian rates in Poland are pretty high. Same with like Ukraine and Russia. There's pretty big Christian rates in those countries because they have a lot of churches. And then you have specific types of churches. Both of those countries are super Orthodox because, well, the history, but also they have a lot of Orthodox churches. Um, Norway, Finland, Sweden all have pretty high atheistic rates because they don't have an emphasis on like religious culture. So I mean, it's just like almost entirely based on like the society in which you're in encourages you. But I think once you break away from that, you start forming your own belief, your own choices, what you want to believe, you know? But the first thing is breaking away from what society wants you to believe and more into so what you want to believe and what you feel drawn to. Go back to researching how to pray to Apollo and stuff. For sure, let me know how it goes. I don't know if you have the books, but there was I think it's called Hellenism in the Home or like Hellenism Practice for Home. It's supposed to be a really good book. There's I think it's called like Greek mythological history, also really good. Both of those are really good. Oh, what's up, Johnny? Mean the Bible? No, I don't mean the Bible. Which one are we talking about? There's tons of different versions from different translations based on old manuscripts. I mean, the KJV isn't underneath the like Orthodox and Catholic view. The KJV isn't even accurate because it's based on the Masoretic text. The Latin Vulgate is, I think, based on Codex Sinaiticus, but also like that version is in entirely ancient Greek. So going based on the Old Testament from ancient Greek, coming from Paleo and ancient Hebrew is also a really hard translation to get to. Questions like what we're getting. We obviously like the Dead Sea Scrolls, which kind of verifies most of it, but there's still a lot. There's a lot of the Dead Sea Scrolls that are really different than modern English Bibles. Even modern Hebrew Bibles are still kind of questionable because the Hebrew we have now is a lot different than ancient and Paleo Hebrew. Even the Masoretic text Hebrew that's a lot different. Pathetic topic trying to make money off our great president? Okay. No, they're being serious, Will. That's for sure. Did you not see the merch that they put on the website, Will? Trump 2028 merch. What's up, Tyler? If you're maga, come on up. Let's chat. Yeah. Yeah, I was like, what the fuck? No way these are real, right? Right? You know? And I actually went to the website and I was like, oh my god. This is like legitimate. Oh, not the guest user doesn't exist. Rip. That's crazy. Crash the economy. I think it's great. True. Sophia, that's not even Harris. What are you talking about? Cybertruck is recent. The inside is nice. It's a normal car inside. I haven't even seen the inside of it. Hold on. What's the interior? Oh, it looks like, I mean, it looks like a normal, like, Tesla. It's like truck versioned. It just looks like a normal Tesla. And even like normal newer cars look so much better, or trucks look way better than this. I live in rural South Dakota, and there's like 2 Cybertrucks in my neighborhood. Damn. Tesla manufacturer near you. Dang. Dude, look at the F-150 interior, and don't tell me that doesn't look way better. I find it more aesthetically pleasing. Even the F-150 Lightning is fucking amazing. F-150 Lightning looks way better with more comfortable seats, along with a safer display of your like how fast you're going and shit, along with the middle screen. Okay, I want to react to this video, honestly. There was a first one, but I'm it's also like 20 minutes, so this one's like 8. What's up, Dan? Welcome in. Four years. It's okay, it's okay. Come back in 4 years. Yeah, unfortunately there's no one wanted to come up. So I think a few maga in here, but I don't think I do want to come up. $119? Yeah. So it's $219 here. It is late, so it makes sense why not many are on. But nice. Yeah, I'm in Kansas. Okay, how do I don't know how to add videos as a source. Oh, reddest state ever. Dude, here there it's red, but it's a lot more religious than it is political here. Like people will vote just like red because generally, red is going to be more of a religious group. Um, but not many people really engage in politics here. They're just like kind of maga simps because Christ, yeah. Mainly politics and fake Christians based. Let's go. Flicked up like that. Not sure. Those West Coasters, true. Dude, I used to live in California. I lived there for 13 years. It wasn't that bad. It was really fucking good. But I swear to God, every single time someone wants to comment that California is bad, 99% of the time it's someone who doesn't live in California and they just like think because California, big blue state, and Governor Newsom that it's terrible, and like the propaganda they see about like LA and San Francisco is like the entire truth. It's like that. Like, jeez, dude. Go there at least if you're gonna fucking talk about it so much. What's up?
Hello, what's good, bro, Chacho?
What's up, man? I'm about to react to a video.
Okay, well, I'm only here for a little bit. I just came up to say what's up. I'm gonna go to bed.
Word, word.
Alright, bro. What video you reacted to?
It's on Peter Bogasin. It's like, is Ukraine or is Russia justified in invading Ukraine? It's like 8 minutes, and it's someone who just doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Okay. Is this like a far right guy?
Oh, I think they're a socialist,
Oh,
which
well,
obviously.
bro, there's socialists that like justify all the things that Russia does. It's
True.
whack. All right, bro.
I'll see you, bro.
Later.
Drop me.
You want me to drop you?
Yeah, drop me.
Okay.
It's for the algorithm.
For the algorithm. Metro areas combined for about half the population of South Dakota. Damn. Moving when I'm old enough and I have enough money. True, do it. Just know it's a long motherfucking process. I'm actually in the process of trying to get my German citizenship because through descent I can do that. So I need to message the immigration lawyers back. I completely forgot about that. I'll do that in the morning. Thank you for the heart, Antoine. I need to figure out what they need. Yeah, if you know like of any of your like decently past family history, hold on. There's a decent amount of like, especially like European countries that'll have like a citizenship by descent. You just have to have like the proper documentation from like your mother or grandmother. They'll usually do that. I'm trying to find the original one. Okay. Or apply to that. I have a lot of German relatives. Yeah, like if your grandmother, it has to be in your familial, like your parents slash yeah your parents lineage. Like they have to be like grandma, grandpa, mom, dad, something of that matter. Grandma's in fact German. Oh yeah, so yeah, if they have German citizenship, then you can go through the process of naturalization through lineage as long as you have like proof that they're German, that they have German citizenship, all that good stuff. Okay, I'm gonna try and add this source. I'm just gonna correct the fuck out of this guy because doesn't know what he's talking about. They don't have German citizenship. Rip. Yeah, I have to figure that out with my grandma. because she died at like 13 years ago. So I hope we still have all our documents and stuff, because she actually came to the U.S. illegally. With my great grandma. So Jubilee. No, this is Peter Bogosian. I don't fucking know how to say that name. Let me make it bigger. Let me cover up Donald Trump's face, because I don't like him.
All right, David. And then
I don't know how long I can play this at a time.
Mr. Australia. You have 3
Well,
minutes for a conversation.
This channel seems way better, the Jubilee, just based
So
on this.
The reason that I went from neutral to slightly is because whether we consider it a justification or not, we knew what was going to happen based off of the agreements and the promises that were made by either side, like decades back. And so I don't think it was a surprise. They kind of acted like the invasion was this reckless surprise that no one saw coming, and this is like his plan for world domination, when this was written out in black and white if certain like bars weren't met or if certain promises were broken, which did happen. Now, I completely disagree with the bloodshed and all of that, but I think adding some nuance to it, it wasn't a surprise that Putin would have invaded, considering
I don't know
all
if that's
the
a
steps
cross
that
or
we
an
took
onk
to get to that point.
on his
I agree it wasn't a
necklace.
surprise, but that stands apart from whether or not it was justified. After the breakup of the Soviet Union, we had independent states, which each had sovereignty. And in the case of the Ukraine, not only did it have sovereignty, it was a democratic nation at the time of the invasion. And so whether or not one thinks that there is corruption in the system is also beside the point, because we could argue that about almost any system around the world. The fact is that on the date of the invasion, there was no justification, there was no good reason that could be put forth by the authorities in Russia, namely Putin, for the bloodshed that was then unleashed in what I would suggest was just his tyrannical attempt to reinvigorate what was once the Soviet Union.
By the way, this guy, he never gives a justification. He just says it's surprising and then like names a few things that Ukraine did. Like, I don't know why he agrees. All right, see you, Bo. It was good to see you, man. And yeah, it wasn't surprising, right? We knew a month ahead of time that they were preparing troops on the border. We already knew, based on intelligence from like a year prior, they were running mock drills on the border. Like, none of it was a surprise. I don't know why he even said that as like justification.
Sure, yeah, I think that's a little bit of a cartoonish view of him as like some kind of 1980s like diehard villain. I don't think that's even the
Simping for
people that
Putin?
completely despise Putin. They've never said that he's like illogical or untrustworthy to a degree when it comes to agreements between nations. I'm not saying he's not like, you know,
Untrustworthy when it comes to agreements between nations. He's broken 34 ceasefires. He disavowed the NATO-Russia Founding Act. He did not uphold the Budapest Memorandum. He has tried to violate CIS because he wants to take over Belarus and Kazakhstan too. I can't think of a single agreement that Putin has ever
saying
upheld.
that assassinates people and all that, obviously. But I feel like it would lack nuance to not lay some of the responsibility at the feet of the West and NATO for what has been the last, about 20 years of broken agreements and constant amplification of military and like military supplies surrounding the nation surrounding Russia. Like, I think that's the only reason that I went slightly here, is because I feel like this conversation deserves that nuance.
This is reminiscent of the idea that because
I haven't heard this one before. Because people are arming around Russia, that makes no sense. I mean, you have China on their border, which they're having their own land disputes. You have Mongolia, you have Kazakhstan, and then you have 3 Baltic nations that have been armed with NATO for the past 21 years. You have Finland, which is not the biggest country, but they have a decently sized military with, I think, 1 million troops, plus another, like, few 100,000 on reserves. All their equipment comes from the U.S., which is the next, Tier 5, or what is it called? Tier 5, Gen 5, aircrafts. I mean, they have top-notch I don't understand this idea that like because nations arm themselves for defense against a nation that has historically been colonialistic, wanting to run over different countries, how that justifies them then doing that again because of like why these people are invading or arming up or trying to join NATO. The whole point of them doing that is because Russia continues to be imperialistic and colonialistic towards these countries, and not imperialistic in like using soft power, but imperialistic as in like assassinating a fucking leader and then installing a Russian puppet. Yes, Mikhail, I am. Come on up, Mikhail.
Because Israel has an iron dome that in some way, shape or form, therefore, Palestinians are justified in launching rockets in. Just because NATO puts up a whole bunch of armaments and defences around to protect itself, in no way justifies Russia invading the Ukraine, which in fact is not even a part of NATO. If that's what I'm hearing from your argument, that they were provoked in some way.
All
Right.
right.
Well, that was with the threat of NATO. They've said multiple times.
There was no threat with NATO. Ukraine joining NATO plays no threat into Russian sovereignty. This is like such a... It doesn't even make sense, right? NATO's entire goal is to prevent an invasion or prevent colonialization on one of their countries, and has largely expanded its operations to attempt at protecting others. We saw with like the UN utilizing NATO for Libya in 2012, and there was a massive civil war, and it was like looking like it might outbreak to other places, and there was pretty big, attacks of civilians. What is this? Debate if anyone wants to come up, and then I'm just like kind of reacting to a video right now, talking about it. We have like Kosovo security mission with Russia actually, which I forget if that was UN appointed or NATO appointed, or like NATO selected. I think NATO selected the countries, UN appointed it as a peacekeeping mission. Kosovo, Serbia. That's it. That's like the extent of NATO operations outside of Afghanistan, and yeah. So I don't get where this idea comes from that NATO is like a invading country.
What does that imply? That almost implies World War III by all NATO countries having to rally around and defend Ukraine. Then
yeah, here's the thing: if Russia does not invade Ukraine, well then NATO doesn't get enacted. It's that simple. If Ukraine were to enter Russia, NATO doesn't protect them at that point. It's on defense. If you get attacked, without actually starting the war, then NATO comes to your defense.
Swap in Destiny and back to Brett.
Oh, and this doesn't even address the fact that NATO isn't necessarily going to militarily support you, as in like sending its military. That is usually, as in the one time we actually had to enact it, what we did. But all NATO says is that you have to support and defend the country that was invaded. This extends past economic guarantees, just because like that's generally guaranteed anyway. You would usually be contributing more like intelligence or satellites or even like some drone bomb run, something like that. Or like logistic supply, things like that. Like some countries during the Afghan war didn't ever actually engage in the war. It was almost entirely, well, not almost entirely. There were some countries like Montenegro who simply just provided logistic support. So Russia enacting Article 5 isn't necessarily going to begin World War III, but it definitely does have a high chance.
I'll give you guys 2 minutes.
Of course.
Residential.
But the only way for that to happen is if Russia invades Ukraine. Given the hypothetical that they're in.
Steven, you go first.
I feel like none of these arguments are real when I hear the Russian defense. The Baltics joined NATO in 2004. Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. Finland is in NATO. Like all of these countries border Russia, and it's fine. NATO's never attacking Russia. The idea that they invaded because of NATO just doesn't make any sense. In 2014, they took Crimea because Yanukovych was ousted, and then in 2022 they invaded to support the invasion that they'd already kind of begun in the southeast and the Donbass. None of this had anything to do with NATO. It's just Russia's just bullying their neighbors.
How was Yanukovych ousted?
I mean, it was during
What?
Euromaidan.
So was there not U.S. like intelligence involved?
Oh my god. No, there was not U.S. intelligence involved. Yanukovych was ousted because Verkhovna Rada had voted him out. That's it. That's all it was. He was voted out in a time of crisis underneath Article 85 of the Ukrainian Constitution. That's it. He decided to flee to Russia, along with embezzling like billions of fucking dollars over there. Debate someone. Let's debate it, Grad. Damn. I know what he's gonna say. Well, I do know because
Involvement in
I already watched this, but
that?
every Russian says that, or not
Victoria
Russian,
Nuland,
every
there
Russian
was that leaked
supporter.
phone call where she
Yeah,
would-
the Nuland call. All the Nuland call said was Victoria Nuland was talking to someone else. I forgot who it was. That they preferred the opposition party to win. That's it. That's typically normal. If you're seeing like a coup or even an election, you're like intelligence agencies or people within a country are going to talk about who they prefer to run that country, especially because Yanukovych was a Russian fucking puppet. So it makes sense that our CIA leader or director, I think she was our CIA director, and I think it was someone in the FBI or a different agency, we're talking about who they preferred. We want someone in Ukraine who's going to prioritize EU over Russia, obviously. That doesn't imply anything about us having a hand or influence over the, Euromaidan.
Clearly says that we have to make sure we pick the next person.
That was
No,
never
she
said.
said that they'd prefer one leader over the other, but there's no evidence of involvement.
Sure. Well, I guess I would disagree with that. I think it was basically like a micro color revolution that they
That's
did.
fine, but
No, it
there's
wasn't.
absolutely zero evidence for that at all.
Well, I don't know. There's
one leaked phone call where we said we'd prefer.
The color revolution in Ukraine was literally them protesting Yanukovych's illegitimate win in 2004. He ran in 2004. It was a fraudulent election. They protested. It was overturned. Where Yanukovych lost, he ended up coming back in 2014. That made no sense. Euromaidan itself was against the Yanukovych regime for being pro-Russian. I don't even know if he knew what the color revolution was.
Somebody. The person we prefer was the opposition party, even to I think what Zelensky ended up running at. So the person we preferred didn't even get it. So it doesn't make
So okay, so then
actually, and even if I were to grant all of that, let's say we grant all of that, which I would never do, but even if I did, that still
Shouldn't
wouldn't
have said
justify
that.
Russia invading and stealing territory.
Okay, sure. But if we're talking about the territories that were predominantly ethnically Russian,
no.
speak Russian, and they were targeting and persecuting people for speaking Russian, it was essentially an ethnic cleansing that was going on for the prior almost 8 or almost 10 years. So
okay, this isn't Gaza, right? Like Ukraine itself. Well, okay, let's start with this. Crimea was its own independent nation with its own indigenous people, Crimean Tatars. These people were taken over in 1783 by Russia. Then you have Donbass, Lugansk, and Donetsk. These were primarily Ukrainian for over 1,000 years, or close to 1,000 years. It was like 700, before Russia came over and colonized most of that part. You have Zaporizhia and Kherson, which was also mainly like Crimean Tatars and Ukrainians up until, Russian colonialization. So this idea that, like, Russians were here historically is just wrong. This didn't actually happen until the Russian Empire, or the Tsardom of Russia came in. And then Russian Empire was actually one of the worst about it because they kept actually sending in Russians to these locations to push out the Ukrainians and Tatars. And then the Soviet Union did the same thing with a lot of the Baltics and Finland. They did the same thing. They would send in Russians, very similar to like the Israeli colonies, so that way they could try to make a claim of ethnic, what do you call it? Like ethnic settlement there. Oh, that guy left. Like this idea that these places are just so historically Russian is so far from the truth. Oh, and most of these regions, by the way, Crimea and all of Donbass and Kherson also speak Ukrainian. None of them are only Russian. All of them are Russian and Ukrainian.
it's different when comparing Russia and Ukraine and comparing Finland or Lithuania or all of those. The history is different.
Not at
the
all.
connections are different. I'm related to a lot of Ukrainians. We're essentially cousins, you know. So
What?
it's a different conflict than it would be with any other country.
I think,
Okay.
I think,
we're,
I think
we're
for,
out of time.
I don't get the last word.
I'll give you the last
Yeah,
word.
give me the last
Go ahead.
word.
I'll give you the last
I think
word.
Israel-Palestine is incredibly complicated. I think that Ukraine-Russia is incredibly simple. In '91, they were independent. Russia recognized their borders. There might be a lot of ethnically Russian people there, but that doesn't give Russia the right to invade them because they're not happy with what's going on there any more than it would give Mexico the right to invade Arizona or Texas because they're not happy with what we're doing
If
with
they
the
were
legal immigrants.
persecuting Spanish-speaking people.
No, even
and-
so, that wouldn't give Mexico the right
Okay,
to steal.
all right.
This is also just a wrong analogy. Ukraine wasn't doing that. Ukraine wasn't persecuting people on the basis that they were Russian or speaking Russian. The only things that you can kind of point towards this is wanting to shift over media towards, I think it was like 75% of, or fuck, what was it? I think it was every 3 out of 4 channels needed to be in Ukrainian, which I don't even necessarily see anything wrong with this. Like, you have other countries that will just require media or radio stations to be in the language that is officially recognized by the country, and any of them that have 2 languages will generally have both those languages. So when Ukraine had removed Russian as an official language, then they moved everything back over there to trying to make it all Ukrainian, and even then they still allowed Russian to be used, or other languages to be used, for 25% of the radio stations. Unlike Russia,
I-
where
hold
it
on.
has to be
We're
Russian.
going to go to the you're still on neutral.
I'm on neutral because I'm not completely certain about anybody's justification, but the reason I'm staying neutral is because both of those countries are, to me, are a bunch of snakes, and I wouldn't trust
Yeah, I
any
mean,
of
this is
them
just
for
like MAGA talking.
anything.
You have one quick question to each side.
I haven't seen this
Are
part
you,
actually, so.
on the side you're on because you're basically an anti-Putin guy?
Am I allowed to ask you where you're from? Did you say you were an immigrant earlier, or?
No, children of immigrants, but
Okay. I'm not anti-Putin, but I'm very much pro, like, Eastern Europe being allowed to join
You should be
Western Europe, and
anti-Putin.
the United States working with Europe to ensure the security of Europe. I think that's worked really well for the last, like, 80 years, ever since the end of World War II. And I would hate to see that that Europe thrown back into a period of what was preceding World War II, where they're just all at war with each other because nobody can take leadership there and keep the peace, basically.
All right, you have one question.
no, I don't really have a question.
Okay, no, that's
It's
fine.
not going to change any of it.
All right, that's fine.
I don't know if I necessarily like Destiny's response on this.
Thrown back into
But
okay.
Maybe I misunderstood
I'm not
it.
anti-Putin, but I'm very much pro, like, Eastern Europe being allowed to join Western Europe and the United States.
Oh,
working
okay, allowed. I
with
thought it
Europe
was like
to ensure the security of
just
Europe.
to
I think
join
that's
it.
worked really well.
I guess. On Hootsuite. This is Destiny. The one on the screen. I mean, yeah, but Eastern Europe should obviously have like their own choice on what they want.
Sure, would that work?
And generally, like, Eastern Europe is extremely different than Western Europe. But yeah, I would agree. Like, they should obviously be allowed to join. Even Russia should be allowed to change and join the general European Union, the general European, like, culture caucus, whatever it might be, if they decided to join or change. But yeah, we should largely be trying to protect Eastern Europe from Russian colonialism and, like, heavy influence. And it's not even like Russia just wants it all. They have to stop. They're obvious about it too. This has been going on for hundreds of years, and we're only starting to publicly see it now, right? We had like Georgia in 2008, but like generally like Abkhazia and Ossetia, where like, you know, they were wanting independence, and Georgia wasn't really giving it to them, so no one really saw anything there. Then you had Chechnya twice, 96, 99. No one saw anything there. You have like the entire Soviet Union imperialism and colonialism throughout all of Eastern and even like kind of charging into Western Europe. But like no one said anything all the way up until this invasion. It just made it so obvious how unjustified this country has been acting for hundreds of
the other
years.
side as well, or just Ukraine? So it's like only Ukraine needs to feel like it's just on their end. For
Also, this guy's cringe. This is just like, it's just like
Actually,
average like
yes.
leftist rhetoric.
Yes, precisely because they were not the aggressors. So Putin was the aggressor, he invaded, and everything that followed from that is down.
I don't know what Greg Miller says.
Trump will negotiate a just end to the Russia-Ukrainian war within his term. Move.
No, obviously no. This is like just absolute.
Hi,
Oh
I'm
my
Andy
goodness.
Levian, General Counsel.
This is just like absolutely disagree. No. Wait, if you were to just say like an agreement, sure, but like a just agreement, so far we haven't seen anything just about anything he's done with Ukraine. I would just say absolutely disagree.
Can you go? Okay, you have 3 minutes to have a conversation.
First of all, I don't see how anyone can justify any invasion, any fighting or war of any kind. Let's keep it simple. We can drown in all the facts that Destiny's going to come up with, right? I don't want to drown in the facts. Let's keep it simple.
I don't
The
want to
fact
drown in
that
the facts.
Trump uses logic and common sense, I believe he has the capacity, the capability of coming up with a sound solution to solve a problem. Every problem has a solution. You may not agree with it, but I strongly...
He just stated that there's no justification ever for like invasion, but then he also said Trump's plan is good. Which, by the way, Trump's plan involves ceding land to Russia. He's pressuring Ukraine right now to get rid of Crimea and cede that territory to Russia.
Agree that no one wants war, everyone wants to end this, and that he will come up with a resolution.
Actually, Russia doesn't want to end this. Everyone else does, but Russia doesn't.
But a just resolution.
Just resolution is, what's justified? They wouldn't agree unless...
What's up, Jason?
What's up, bro?
Why do you support Donald J. Trump?
Oh crap, man! I guess I'm in the wrong place.
Oh.
I don't. I'm a progressive myself.
Oh, okay. Was there something you would talk about?
I mean, I think, you know what, man? If you're a Democrat, I would say that as a progressive myself, in my true belief and my understanding of research, I feel like that we have not had a true progressive president since FDR.
Since FDR.
Yeah,
I mean,
man.
When we're saying progressive, I mean, I feel like Biden was like really progressive when it comes to social values.
It's just they haven't taken it to the level that we needed it to be taken to. And the level, and what I'm talking about is, you know, on Germany status, Canada status, universal health care, investing in education, and you know,
when we're saying progressive, what are we defining? I guess when I hear progressive, I'm hearing like progressive social values, because I don't necessarily agree with like universal health care. So
for progressive economics, man, just trying to, you know, take us out of our old ways. Conservatives just keep dragging us into this whole.
What's progressive economics?
For me, well, you know, progressive economics, you know, give me a sec.
We're talking like communism, socialism.
No, man. I don't know why everyone always thinks that, man.
Capitalism?
Not capitalism, absolutely not. I mean, it's, you know, fair wages, you know, labor power, right?
Okay, so that's capitalism.
But, you know, wealthy corporations should pay a fair share of taxes. We realize that. Universal health care, you know, climate and economic justice, clean energy, public transit, sustainable infrastructure, bottom up growth, not trickle down, you know, believing in the people. We empower our consumers, small businesses, right? You know, as Ms. Harris was trying to do as well when she was running, like some of her policies, you know, intrigued me, and which is why I voted for her. And I would just, like I said, man, for me, it's just, I wouldn't say Biden was there, man. I mean, he was trying.
I mean,
like, but true progressive, man, true progressive was FTR when he came out with Social Security, the 40-hour work week and stuff like that. If you want to be a true progressive, in my opinion, you're going to go all the way really change the system, man, and really empower the
Right,
people.
but out of everything you just said, Biden checked off like the majority of that. Even for the sake of argument, I would include Biden's vice president term for things that he's done. I mean, we have like the ACA expanding, access to healthcare to 30 million people. We have the infrastructure bill, which expanded infrastructure by about $1 trillion, going from repairing roads, expansion of roads, expansion of rail transit, expansion of broadband internet. Um, I would say like he didn't. I don't know if he legislated anything on small businesses, but I would say the rhetoric was there to kind of like encourage it, kind of like a campaign type promotion of it. We had the Inflation Reduction Act, which was the largest renewable energy bill of American history. So, I mean, we have like American Rescue Plan, cut child poverty in half by, cut it in half. And then on top of that, we have like progressive social values, respect for marriage acts,
No, man. I mean, he can't.
What in there wasn't progressive?
I'm about to list it, man. So he ends up, trying to compromise with Republicans, which I don't necessarily disagree with,
On
but
what?
at the same time, he'll end up distancing himself from Democratic Socialist and Green New Deal.
Well, I mean, the Inflation Reduction Act was still a really good step in that direction. We can't just like immediately throw like hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars into a Green New Deal just yet. I would say like taking the steps to get to a Green New Deal is good. So when we get to the point where we can just like fucking instantly transfer over to fully renewable energy, that's good.
Let me ask this: if he's a true progressive, right? Where is the serious push for Medicare for all? Where the no support for the court reform, filibuster abolition?
I don't think those are necessary. Like those are progressive, but I think there's other forms of like progression. I think trying to tackle the problems within insurance is also pretty progressive because I think multi-payer healthcare system is good, and I think it's better than Medicare for all. I think the Medicare we have right now is really good, and I don't think we should necessarily change or like increase that.
I'm gonna just state this, man. To be real with you, when I think of leadership with the progressives, man, it's taking risks like FDR, man, and pushing for transform change.
Right, but Medicare for all would cost trillions of dollars. That's a massive risk, with like no evidence to support that it's going to be largely beneficial to everyone.
I mean, other countries have, though.
Yeah, other countries have it, but we still have the best healthcare outcomes out of every single country. We have the best efficiency. We have the best healthcare outcomes. Like, the worst thing about our healthcare system is insurance.
You're starting to sound a little bit conservative, my man.
I'm just capitalist.
Capitalist,
right.
Okay.
Liberals, neoliberals, conservatives, we're all capitalists. One of the biggest problems within our healthcare system is health insurance. If we can tackle that, we would still have the best system in the West.
I just want to state something real quick for the progressive side, man. When we look at true progressives, they walk with the people, not with the donors.
Okay, increasing or decreasing the cost of healthcare is walking with the people, because when we look at the Western side of healthcare coming from Western society, we have the best outcome. We have the best healthcare outcomes. We have the best research progression in healthcare and medicine. We have, I think, the second best at administrative efficiency, and first is also private health insurance. It's Australia. So we see demonstrably that private health insurance and private healthcare is better than public healthcare. Less wait times, better access to better care at quicker speeds, versus a public system which doesn't necessarily have that great of outcomes or speeds or efficiency.
To be honest, we're not talking about spending extra money when we talk about universal healthcare. You understand that,
That would
right?
necessarily cost more money.
No. The problem, how much, do you know how much we already spend on healthcare a year?
It's like $5,374 per person.
4.5 trillion per year. The issue isn't the cost, but the waste and inefficiency.
No, it is a cost, because if we're spending that much right now and we don't have a public system, when we have a public system, it's going to cost 30 times more, because the amount of people covered by Medicare, Medicaid.
U.S. already spends more per capita than any country.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
That's not true. There's other countries. I think the UK spend more.
It is. No, it is.
I'm pretty sure the UK and France both spend more.
I can fact check you, and it's off of OECD data.
Okay.
And I'm fact checking on it. UK is
What year?
5,000. 2022.
Okay.
OECD data, if you want to look it up, 12,914 per person. And then UK 5,000, Canada 6,300, France 5,600. We pretty much pay double what other countries pay. 1 in 10 Americans still don't have insurance. I can see if I can update.
That's fine.
Update.
I mean, if that's the case, then sure.
To be honest with you, so we got Lancet peer-reviewed study, Yale University study, and then you got the Robert Paulin, UMass Amherst, right? And I can list all of what the benefits are. It's just we don't, in my opinion, though.
Also, we're not double the next nation. The next nation is Switzerland at 9,000 per capita. We're at 13,000 per capita. Switzerland's at 9,000. Norway's at 8,000.
What year?
2025, April 9th. This is from Peterson KFF Health System Tracker.
Who's it? Switzerland?
Switzerland second. We're first.
Okay. There you go.
What about it?
So hear me out. So we got Lancet peer-reviewed study. Medicare for all would save the United States $450 billion annually and prevent 68,000 unnecessary deaths per year. That's Lancet 2020 peer-reviewed study. You got Yale University study. Now look, I mean, we can crap on these education systems all you want, but that's what the U.S. likes to brag about is our education, right? National health spending would decrease by 13% under Medicare for all.
That's not. By the way, just reducing the amount of money we're putting out isn't necessarily good. Just because we're saving money and then also producing worse healthcare outcomes and worse progression in medicine is bad. Spending those hundreds of billions to have the best medical advancement in the world, along with the best healthcare outcomes in the world, is good.
Say that again?
Just because we're saving $475 billion a year by going to Medicare for all doesn't necessarily mean that is good. That is actually bad because, again, going to Medicare for all, as we've seen in other universal healthcare countries, their healthcare outcomes reduce, their healthcare efficiency reduces, their healthcare progression reduces, like medicine, pharmaceutical advancements reduces. All of the actual important things when it comes to medicine and healthcare all drop drastically. I would rather have a system where I pay, which we can address the insurance problem and also have the best healthcare outcomes and other things I've already listed.
So Commonwealth Fund 2021, the United States ranks last among 11 high-income countries in healthcare outcomes, access, and equity. Yet we spend the most per person. That's not high quality. It's high inefficiency. Doctors in single-payer systems spend more time treating patients, less time dealing with billing. Countries like Germany, France, Canada have equal or better life expectancy and lower infant mortality at half the cost. These are
You realize they also have like underneath half the population of us. Germany has like 80 million people or like 40 million people. So yeah, no shit, they're going to be spending less than us. They're spending half, but they have like 4 to 5 times less people than us. Meaning, scale that up to 350 million people from, what's Germany? 60, what are they, 60 million people?
I would say scale isn't the problem. Structure is.
No,
the reason
scale is absolutely a problem. We're talking about countries that have 5 times less people than us.
Let me finish my point, my man. The reason is our system's inefficient because our population, because it's of its private complexity and the profit-driven bureaucracy, which you'll probably agree with because you're pro-capitalist, right?
Yes.
Medicare is 65 million people. It's large, efficient public healthcare systems. Medicaid is 85 million people. The VA system is millions of people. We already run government healthcare systems for more than a third of the country, and they're more efficient than private insurance. Big countries do have universal healthcare. Germany is 83 million.
5 times less than us. 3 times less than us.
Plenty of large, diverse nations run universal healthcare. The U.S. wouldn't be the first. It's just late. It's irony though. Big population. We already cover 150 million with Medicare, Medicaid, and the VA. Why can't we keep going?
VA is terrible. Have you ever used the VA?
I'm a veteran.
Okay, then you should know how terrible the VA is. Don't say you know damn well it's terrible.
You can't tell me what I know if I'm a veteran. Are you a veteran, sir?
I don't need to be a veteran. I have multiple veteran family.
You can
It's
say
fucking
I have
awful.
veteran family. You can have everyone's experience is going to differ, right?
When there's consistency within the system that the majority of veterans complain about the VA and the wait times and access to healthcare and the way they treat the patients, it's all terrible. Consistency. You might be an anomaly, but that's not the average. I promise you.
But I mean, look what I'm saying here, man. Like we can go on other points. We have 900 insurance companies playing gatekeeper. Okay, let's think about that. Larger population makes universal healthcare more efficient, not less. More bargaining power, more shared infrastructure. These are progressive points. We're not too big for universal healthcare. We're just too entangled in a broken fucking system that profits off of illness instead of healing.
You realize what those profits are for, right? Those profits go to medical advancement. We produce some of the most amount of medical advancement in the world at some of the highest rates. Joe Biden's IRA, which was largely good, but the cap on pharmaceuticals was going to decrease the amount of new pharmaceuticals that we produced by the year 2039 by like 25. That's crazy. He had to install rewards for companies for innovation just to offset that, or else we would have a massive innovation crisis within the pharmaceutical industry.
National Institute of Health, $45 billion a year in funding, supports foundational research used by pharma companies. What the heck?
TikTok.
What's wrong?
Oh, nothing.
COVID-19 mRNA vaccine technology developed over decades of publicly funded research. Most blockbuster drugs, they were built on taxpayer-funded science, then privatized and marketed by pharmaceutical companies. We got the source BMJ, that's British Medical Journal. I mean, we can keep going in all of this.
All you're telling me
Profits
is the same thing that I just
usually
told
go
you.
to the shareholders, man. They're not going to go to the scientists. Just be real with me.
That's not
Come
true.
on.
No, that is objectively not true.
We
literally, yes, you can look at papers from Chicago University where, again, the impact of capping prices or removing the profit incentive of innovation from the insurance companies decreases the amount of pharmaceuticals.
Innovation means nothing if people can't afford the cure.
Yes, it is. You're saying that innovation, yes, innovation is significantly important.
People shouldn't suffer so pharma execs can buy yachts, dude. Come on.
So you're ignoring the point, dude. This is just like classic fucking dumb socialist rhetoric. People buy yachts. No, a lot of that money goes to pharmaceutical innovation and advancement. That's true. That's why we see repercussions every single time we attempt to cap prices. It's bad to cap prices, especially at low rates. We should incentivize lowering rates, but we shouldn't hardcore cap prices because that does have massive repercussions on the pharmaceutical industry.
All right, brother. I gotcha. You are a conservative, though, man. Stop.
I'm a capitalist.
A capitalist is pretty good. Sound pretty conservative to me, man. You really defend those pharma people.
You're wrong.
Really?
I don't give a fuck because you socialists are the same fucking thing. All of you are in a death
In
cult,
2019,
and you all say that
the
neoliberals
top
and
10
liberals
U.S.
and
pharmaceutical companies
all
spent 56
neoliberals and
billion.
liberals
You have not
are
stated one fact or
conservatives.
statistic, sir. So please.
Well, you keep calling me a conservative, and I'm not.
Okay.
You haven't stated a single fucking fact.
I have, and I have stated multiple studies and facts. In the top
Yeah, and I gave you
10
one.
U.S. pharmaceutical companies spent 56 billion on R&D and 139 billion on stock buybacks and dividends.
You know what stock
Score
buybacks are?
Institute for New Economic
You know
Thinking.
what stock buybacks are? Can you explain to me what a
That's
stock buyback is?
2.5 times
Can you
more
explain to me what a stock
enriching
buyback is?
shareholders.
Can you explain to me what a stock buyback is?
Sure.
Do it. Without looking it up, do it. If you think it's so terrible, do it. You have to go look it up because you don't actually know. You're just talking shit about systems you don't even fucking know, dude. You realize I can hear you typing.
Basically buying back its own shares. I don't know. I just wanted to double confirm that I knew what I was talking about. But yeah, it's when they buy back their own shares. Come on.
Yeah, it's increasing the worth of the company.
That's a good thing.
Yes.
It's been improved. It's been proven to enrich shareholders, hit stock price targets.
Do you think rich people are the
What do
only
you
ones
live
who invest?
under a rock,
Do you think
dude?
rich people are the only ones who invest in
You
these
love
companies?
Trump.
Also,
Stop.
listen, I don't care about your like dumb fuck communist rhetoric. I really don't. You guys are all the fucking same. Okay? I don't give a fuck if you like defend Mao's genocide or Stalin's genocide.
This has nothing to do with it. I'm stating facts, and you're upset.
You didn't even know what the fuck a stock buyback was, and yet you're
I
talking
just
shit about
pointed
it.
it out.
Either way, whether you invest that money into the workers or into the stock buybacks, you get the same amount of fucking gains. It's just different ways of doing it. Either way, you're investing into the company. You're increasing the worth of the company.
Nope.
Yes.
Nope.
Yes.
Because it's been proven to drive up drug prices, and it's a short-term gain versus long-term public health. Sir, is your life any better? Is your health care any better?
Actually, yes, it is. Anyway,
it is. It is. How much do you
stock
spend
buybacks?
monthly?
I don't pay
How
any.
much do you
I don't pay
spend
any.
monthly on your health care?
I don't pay any. There's stock buyback.
You don't pay any.
Yes. Are you gonna listen?
Why don't you pay any?
I don't have to explain why I don't pay any.
That's what I'm saying, though. That's the issue,
That's
bro.
what I'm saying. No, I don't
Stock
care. I have
buybacks
private health
are
insurance.
Wall Street's way of saying
I have private health insurance, and I'd
but we're not
way
going
rather have
to
that.
spend it helping people.
Do you
We're going to
understand
make ourselves.
that there is stock buyback, then there's investing back into
You live under
the workers. Either way, the worth of that company is going to increase. Both of those are different ways to invest into the company. It's just like socialists like you want to you just see the invest in workers and therefore automatically assume
I
it's
never
the best
say
type
I'm a
of
socialist.
You have the exact same kind of fucking rhetoric. And yeah, like same rhetoric, same talking, you know, fucking calling every liberal and neoliberal a conservative. That is definitionally just socialist rhetoric.
Okay, so if wanting people to afford insulin without going broke makes me a socialist, then maybe the problem isn't the label, it's the system you're defending.
My mom needs insulin.
Okay, so why are you defending that system? Why are you defending that system?
Because innovation and competition
Universal
drives
healthcare
down
isn't
prices.
socialism. It's what every other advanced capitalist democracy already does.
That's not true.
It is.
That's not true.
Fact. All G7 nations except the United States have universal healthcare. Are they socialist? No.
I don't have a G7 nation.
Huh? Cool. Call me a socialist if you want. I'll call it not being okay with people choosing between chemo and rent.
Because it's a fact that innovation and competition drives prices down and increases the amount of advancement we have.
Listen,
that's a fact.
We wouldn't be debating politics if it was working. If this was working, we would not be debating it.
Is bad.
We would not be working. It's not working. You know it. I know it. It is not.
Healthcare system? What's the worst thing
Ask-
about our healthcare system? It's the insurance. It's the insurance companies.
And what are you
And
doing
I
about it?
agree. I don't have a plan to fucking fix it. It's not my plan to fix the insurance
That
companies.
I
I don't
already
talk
gave
about
you
other
the
turrets here.
solution. The solution is
No,
there.
your solution is terrible. Your solution is objectively
Because
fucking
you guys
bad.
won't try it. You won't even try it. And you know why? It will never be tried. I will probably move out of the country
Go
before
for
it
it. I
ever
don't give a
happens.
fuck, dude. No one will ever give a fuck.
So you're just a complainer with no solutions and no knowledge on any of
No,
this
I
stuff.
just don't care to focus.
You can slap
on
whatever
the
label
healthcare
you want
industry.
on it. I'm trying to solve problems, not score debate points, buddy.
Okay, then go into office. Run for office if you want to do that.
You know what, man? If caring about working people, fair wages,
run an
and
office if you actually
affordable
want to make a
healthcare
difference.
makes me a
I
socialist,
don't
then
focus
what does that make
on the
someone who's
healthcare.
defending billion-dollar drug markups? What does that make you?
You don't even know what the fuck that means.
What do you mean? It's exactly what I've been stating. I don't have to explain it to you, bro. I've been stating it to you this whole entire argument about how this all lines up and how it all comes together.
It doesn't.
In every argument you debated me on.
It doesn't.
You can't deny it.
I can.
Where are your facts? Tell me they're wrong.
I already gave you.
Show me how I'm wrong.
I gave you the fact that when you cap
Tell me how I'm
prices
wrong.
and you reduce innovation, you reduce the profit incentive to innovation and competition.
Is that
lose
working?
Pharmaceutical. It did affect it, yes. When Biden put in the cap, it did affect it. He had to install other forms of incentive of innovation. It is literally called rewarding innovation of pharmaceutical companies because the cap on drugs was so terrible. You can read the paper by Chicago University talking about it.
No, man.
Of course, you don't care about finance.
That's why I can keep going back into how we spend more.
I don't care. You see one thing that proves you wrong, you don't give a fuck. Get out. I don't need to waste my time with that shit. Dude. The second I show you, which I already gave you that, like, a little bit while ago, on how taking away the profit incentive of these companies can take it when you get someone that reads? Huh? I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Oh, that's you. I didn't even realize. Okay, Jason. Sure, buddy. When you take away the profit incentive of anything, of any industry, you reduce innovation and you reduce competition, which reduces innovation. That's a fact. Now, if you refuse to read the paper by Chicago University, that's your choice. You choose to go and ignore the facts. You do that. Have fun.
Yes, it was justified. I believe that he will have a sound solution to both parties and say, hey, okay, how can I say no? Let's move forward. Let's end this.
Okay.
I mean, I think Trump is just going to negotiate. I say negotiate. He's just going to have Ukraine surrender completely. I think that they're having talks right now in Riyadh. I think in Saudi Arabia. I don't think Zelensky was even invited. It's just Trump and Putin speaking right now. I think he's just going to negotiate basically a full surrender of Ukraine, and I think it's probably going to come with the secession of quite a bit of territory, unfortunately. But we didn't need Trump for that. It's just a full surrender, I think, of Ukraine, basically.
What did Zelensky just agree on?
I don't think
Nothing.
anything.
Well,
he was rejected from joining them in Saudi Arabia, right?
Well, he walked away from something and said, hey, let me discuss this with my team. And then said, oh, I don't agree with Trump. Forget about it. And then the next day came back and agreed on something with Trump. What was that?
Unless this happened within the last 12 hours or something, and I missed it, I'm not sure.
So
I know there was a piece of paper that was supposedly slid across the table asking for like 50% of their mineral reserves or something. I don't know about that.
Because we need some kind of repayment for what we've invested.
And, okay.
I don't know.
That's so stupid.
Well, none of us know if anything's really true, right? We're here on perception.
Well, no, I mean, I don't think we need something from Ukraine. I think that we have a great benefit to being the leaders of the free world and ensuring like free trade and everything.
Well, that's the
this like MAGA idea of we need our money back for sending them equipment that was already paid for 20 plus years ago is silly. Now, first of all, most of the budget budget support of our aid is in the forms of loans, along with the humanitarian aid part. The military equipments, like, we're already getting our money back by investing back into our military. Literally, us just emptying our stockpiles and giving it to Ukraine is investing in the American military. Because when we do that, we have to refill those stockpiles, meaning we're putting more money into development and advancement of either the current military armaments, or we invest into new research and developments.
To the table, and that's the way he looks at it. He looks at everything as a negotiation.
Yeah, but we're not getting anything from any of his negotiations.
We haven't, really?
No.
Yeah,
right now,
we
the
haven't.
negotiation we're talking about right now, for instance, is with Mexico and Canada. That's the trade deal that he negotiated, the renegotiation of NAFTA. But now he's like unhappy with it. It seems like we don't get anything from any of his negotiations.
The fact that he negotiated to go against the complete wokeness of so many years of blasphemy to the United States is
blasphemy
a huge
to the United
States, and he won the position.
He won an election. I don't know what the negotiation is there, but
keep it to the Russia-Ukrainian war. What do you think, and I'm going to ask you the same question, what do you think a just end would look like?
I couldn't tell you. I'm not educated enough to know what a just end would look
course.
like, but I believe that Trump
will
come up.
If you don't know what a just end even looks like, why would you go to the absolutely agree side? Or was he on the major agree? Either way, if you don't know what a just end looks like, or you're not educated on Russia-Ukraine, you should just be neutral. That's it. If you are not confident or don't have like a baseline education on this conflict, which isn't much, and you don't have an idea of what a just or even like a normal agreement would be, you should just be neutral.
And that's justified for all parties to agree to end this.
What do you think a just end would look like?
Severe reparations paid by Russia for the rebuilding of Ukraine and the secession of all the territory of Crimea included back to Ukraine from what the borders looked like before 2014.
Yeah. And how realistic do you think that is?
With Trump as a president, 0% chance. Well, 1% chance, I guess, because he could always do some crazy shit, and who knows?
Okay.
But
you know, he does crazy shit, and then the left doesn't agree.
Because it's crazy shit by definition.
That's the only real just solution. If we're talking about just, there are solutions. There's agreements that we could possibly get to, but that's the only real just one.
You shouldn't agree with it. It's the president of the United States.
That's your perception of crazy shit. But when you look at it, it's logical.
I'm going to give you
makes sense.
Five more seconds.
What? That
okay.
doesn't make sense.
You're on the neutral, sir. Can you come up? I'll let you ask one question of each.
I suppose the fundamental epistemological question here is that we cannot predict the growth of knowledge. We don't know what the future will hold. So how can you know that Trump will do this or won't do that? So what's your insight into Trump psychology?
Yeah, I would never claim I know anything, actually.
Bro.
It's my prediction.
It's politics, not philosophy.
Because of my faith in the fact that everything that he's done currently, his great negotiation skills that he's proven throughout his personal life, what he's brought to the table with the team that he has in place right now, a lot of the left on the team. It's just, to me, it's blown my mind how great it's been. And it's my belief that he will come up with a resolution.
Do you have any optimism about Trump playing 4D chess, let's say? In recent days, he's seemingly, along with Musk, been very much against Zelensky. Do you think this might be a ploy to get the Europeans to intervene more heavily and achieve this just outcome?
None of Trump's 4D chess has ever worked. There is not a single example of him saying something crazy and then something good resulting from it. I don't even think it's a good negotiating tactic. If I would have told Peter that I wanted $5,000 for my appearance here today, and he would have said no, and I would have pulled out a gun and threatened to kill myself, I don't know if that makes it a good negotiating tactic, even if and that seems to be what Trump is doing, is he's running around threatening to explode the world order if he doesn't get what he wants, but we haven't even gotten anything great yet. I think Israel, he made the thing, by Saturday after.
What's up, Jay?
What's up?
How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Yeah, I got a question for you.
What's up?
Yeah, if you go home and suck your girlfriend's dick, does that mean you're gay?
What are we defining as gay?
I asked you the question. Answer it.
Define the terms.
I just literally laid it out for you.
Possibly.
Is it gay to suck a dick?
Yeah, generally.
Okay, so then you're saying that if a guy gets with a trans person, then they're gay then, right?
Not necessarily.
Well, you just said yes just a second
That's why
ago.
I'm asking you to define gay. Like,
Well, I just asked you if you're sucking a dick, does that make you gay?
what are we defining as gay? Attracted to the same gender, attracted to the same sex, gender.
What's gay? I laid out the question for you.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking you to define it.
Yeah.
If someone's
No.
dating a feminine person who largely presents themselves, acts, in the sense of a woman, then like no, I guess not.
So then you disagree with it with what you just said.
With which part?
Your first claim was yes,
took out
it's
the
gay to suck a
context
dick.
of the second part.
You said yes. I asked you if you go home, you suck your girlfriend's dick. Does that mean you're gay?
Okay, well you got reported. No, I would say no.
Afternoon, all the hostages will be back, and they weren't. I mean, it doesn't. We're not getting anything for Canada and.
That's actually a good
Mexico,
point. Like, literally, this guy went into fucking office, made 3 threats to Hamas, and said if you don't return the hostages, we're gonna obliterate you. And none of them
arguing over stuff, and
did
we
that
haven't
happen.
really gotten anything from them. Over 25% tariff threats. Canada's like conservative prime minister, the guy who was going to be that Pierre guy, probably is going to lose his election now because of how much Canadian liberals are gaining power because of how insane Trump's positions are in the United States. Like actually, here would be my question: why is it that when Trump does all these crazy negotiating things, why is it always pointed at one side? Why hasn't Trump come out and said, if Russia doesn't leave Ukraine, I'm going to nuke Moscow? Now, the left would say, or everybody, the right.
Hi,
I mean, yeah, he hasn't made anything against Russia.
I go like, wait, that's crazy, that's insane. But every time he does this to the left, they're like, oh, no, of course it's crazy. 1,000% tariffs on the whole world are crazy. But that's just how Trump negotiates. Why does he never do it against the other side? Why not try that, see how it works?
Yeah, I have no special insight into the psychology of Donald Trump either, so I can't predict what he'll do.
Okay. Well, I'm really struggling.
I mean, you just based on past
that
actions.
question
This
about
is simple.
nuking Moscow, but I'm going to remain neutral. Okay, can you go back and why don't you decide among yourselves who come up, and then why don't you decide among yourselves who's going to go up?
Okay,
2 minutes.
The thing is, we got to identify what injustice is before we can understand what just end means. Injustice, you are imposing in my territory. Period. Injustice.
So what would a just end look like?
As my friends say, go back to the 2014 borders. That is a just end, and that's why I think Trump is
And reparations.
unable
But yeah,
to negotiate.
that's the only just end.
Because you cannot negotiate that with Russia.
I'm sorry to interrupt. He also said one more thing, that Russia has to pay for the rebuilding of Ukraine. Do you agree with that in terms of a just end?
Yeah, obviously. Any person who invades another country or like causes destruction and all that needs to pay for reparations. I mean, I even venture to guess like Destiny would even say that like Israel should pay reparations to all of Palestine, even though he's like generally pro-Israel. Jesse, you're not loading up. Here, I'll disconnect you and then re-invite you back. Wasn't loading. If you wanna join again though.
Tell him.
I don't know if Russia have to pay for the rebuilding of Ukraine.
No, they do.
Only because they haven't paid us reparation for slavery yet.
The Russians?
No, I mean, I'm just saying. So I'm not sure Russia will pay that. I'm not sure we can negotiate that. But what we can negotiate is Russia getting out of Ukraine back to the 2014 borders. And just on the point of we getting repaid by Ukraine, what we did don't need to be repaid because most of the money that was spent in Ukraine is spent right in America with American manufacturers building the weapons to send to Ukraine. That was most of the money spent right in America. From
a just end is, it's very subjective. Okay, my feeling is that Trump
but not in
is
this
a
situation.
disruptor, and he's a good negotiator. And it just seems like that, in my estimation, he's always succeeded in one way or another, whether I agree with it or not.
Like?
Oh, so you're answering the question in terms of your confidence based upon what Trump has done in the past. You think he'll succeed in the future?
Yeah, but how would you start by asking Ukraine to give up territories? How would you start that? How would you start by asking Ukraine to give up 50% of their minerals? That is insane, and ridiculous. Ukraine doesn't need to give up 50% of their minerals. So starting that way,
Yeah.
and not even
Dude,
including
the amount of
Zelensky in
minerals
the negotiation,
that they have,
the negotiating on the back foot.
even cut in half,
Okay,
is
we're out of time, possibly
like
because I had a
4
question.
times the amount of money
I'll
we've
give you
even given
one
them.
question to each side.
Okay, so if the
Who's this for?
I'll go for the how do you think the Ukraine would be able to rebuild itself if Russia was not going to chip in for the reconstruction funds?
I think Ukraine has enough minerals and enough wheat to rebuild itself out of
I
out
don't know
of that
about that.
ashes, rise as a phoenix. They don't need Russia. We don't need anything from Russia. Let form that border, put enough army on that border to protect Ukraine, and let Ukraine build itself, because they import the most foodstuff to Africa. Let them continue doing that. Their minerals and their food will be enough to rebuild Ukraine on their own.
I mean, the problem with that, though, is like Ukraine wasn't heavily urbanized even up until like 2022 or even up until like 2014 for the time. And it does have a lot of exports of like grain, but like
I have one question to the other
I
side.
don't know if they could
Do you
rebuild
think
themselves
that
in time
Trump
before Russia would try to invade again.
Be able to bring
Without
Zelensky and
reservations.
Putin to the table and actually have them negotiate, or do you think he's going to try to impose a solution based on just Putin alone?
I think it's going to depend on whether or not the two can, get each, that Trump can get Zelensky to the table. Okay, because right now, the way it seems,
Zelensky's
he's
the
not
only
coming
one
to
that's
the
been
table.
at the table.
Okay, and I can't interpret that as, does he want the war to continue, or, basically what is his objective by not negotiating?
Bro,
All right.
Zelensky is the only one that has consistently attempted to negotiate. He's the only one that has consistently called for Russia to leave Ukraine. What are we talking about? Like, Zelensky doesn't want to come to the table. Putin is the one who refused calls and refused negotiations from the Biden administration.
Okay,
Not
I'm going to give
Zelensky.
you the last word.
No, because I keep hearing you guys saying Zelensky is not coming to the table. It's not that Zelensky is not coming to the table. He's saying giving up his territory is a non-starter. If it's a non-starter, that means to even put it out there, it means you don't want him on the table, because he's saying it's a non-starter, period. So by putting it out there means I don't want you on the table.
Okay, go back to the. Did anybody move, by the way? Oh, you did? Where did you move from where to where?
I moved from strongly disagree to absolutely disagree because
One sentence, why?
I don't believe Trump has any possibility of ever negotiating a just end if all he's going to do is cut out Ukraine.
Okay, new claim.
Yeah.
A just end to the war could include Ukraine giving up some of its territory to Russia. Move.
Oh, what? That's the opposite of just end.
Okay, Brett?
Yeah, it could
Okay,
be an
you have 3
and
minutes.
end,
Go.
but not a
Okay,
just
well, I mean, I think
end.
it's obvious that if there's going to be a just end to a war, either side is going to have to give up something. So I would assume that not both parties are going to be like absolutely in love with the final outcome. Like Ukraine's going to have to give something up, Russia's going to have to give something up. So yeah, I absolutely agree that would involve. Zelensky can't be the one calling all the shots right now, and I think he has been for a few years. So I think that it's fair
not true.
if both parties go away a little disappointed, because that's just the name of the game.
That's not the name of the game. Compromise is the worst possible outcome. At the end of the Second World War, what did we do with Germany and Japan? We didn't concede anything to them. We didn't allow them to have a little bit of the land they took. We put them back into their box. The same thing should be done with Russia in this particular situation. And the claim itself contains a refutation of what we're arguing here. A just end to the war does not require you to give something up. It may lead to the end of the war, but it wouldn't be just because you're giving up something that you own
well said.
and you didn't
Well
want
said.
to.
Sure, would that work for the other side as well, or just Ukraine? So it's like only Ukraine needs to feel like
It doesn't
it's
matter.
just on their end.
It doesn't matter what Russia feels. Russia is the reason we have to find a just end. If Russia did not invade Ukraine in 2014 or 2022, we wouldn't have to worry about this. Russia doesn't. Russia is the injustice. There's no just
to actually be a just end
end
to the war.
here.
Yes, precisely because
Without
they
Russia
were not the
ceding
aggressors.
back their territory.
So Putin was the aggressor. He invaded, and everything that followed from that is down to him.
I'm a little concerned about equating Russia today with Nazi Germany and evil Axis Japan.
Not at
I think
all.
also that's a little cartoon. Sure, would
Nope.
that work for the?
I accidentally clicked the wrong button on my keyboard.
Trump's 4D chess has ever worked. There is not a single example of him.
Borders. That is a just end, and that's why I think Trump is unable to negotiate that.
Okay,
because
well,
you cannot negotiate that with Russia.
Sorry, no, I'm sorry. Brett?
Imagine making 400.
Oopsie.
For a few years, so I think that it's fair if both parties go
Germany and back arguing here.
The other side as well, or just Ukraine. So it's like only Ukraine needs to feel like it's just on their end for
Yeah,
it to
obviously.
actually be a just end to the war.
Yes, precisely.
We're getting
because they were
justice
not the
for
aggressors.
Ukraine.
So Putin was the aggressor. He invaded, and everything that followed from that is down to him.
I'm a little concerned about equating Russia today with Nazi Germany and
It's
evil Axis
similar.
Japan.
Very, very, very
I
similar.
think also that's a little cartoonish. But I understand if that's your point of view, I understand how you would think that that wouldn't be just. But I think in the real world, we're not going to get a perfect answer for the end of the conflict. So at the very least, both parties should be ready to give something up.
Yeah, it will never be perfect, and it's not to say that Russia is like Nazi Germany. It is just to say that there's an isomorphism between them, that the situation was that it was German aggression that led to the violence and all of the atrocities that happened during that war. And so what has happened now with the Russia-Ukraine war are atrocities and violence due to the initiation of violence by Russia. Ukraine is simply defending itself. And so the just thing to happen would be for Ukraine to be given back what has been taken from it.
Okay, I disagree, but yeah.
What do you disagree with
you go
there?
back.
What?
You come forward, please.
How do you disagree with anything in that?
So I think there is a comparison to World War II here, and I don't think we in any way need to be giving a foreign hostile nation that was the aggressor in this situation the ability to totally cut out the nation that they are trying to overtake in their own negotiations. And because of that, if we give away any of Ukraine's land, which Russia himself has agreed that they are a sovereign nation, that is not a just conclusion to a war.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's much of anything that can be said to get me to move out of here, because even in the phrasing it says could. It doesn't say would. Like, I'm not saying that Ukraine must give up for the end to be just, but I feel like, yes, that should be an option if we actually want the bloodshed to stop. There's been over 1 million people dead.
What did Ukraine do to actually warrant having their land taken away? They were not the aggressor. They were attacked.
What the Ukrainian government did, or like, are you talking about like the persecutions in Maidan, or the persecutions of ethnic Russians, or
there wasn't persecution of ethnic Russians.
To warrant Russia attacking them?
From the Russian perspective, I'm not saying this is my perspective, but from the Russian perspective, it would be the persecution of ethnically
it wasn't happening.
Ethnically speaking Russians in Ukrainian territory that were treated like below second-class citizens.
Not even.
And
there's zero
I think
evidence to
that's
suggest
kind
that
of
outside of Russian sources.
We're out of time. I'll give you the last word.
Which Russia,
Okay,
even some Russian
even if,
sources have
let's
admitted
say,
that was like a
in
campaign,
America-
a propaganda
even if,
campaign.
let's say, in America, Mexican people were being mistreated, it doesn't give Mexico the ability to come into our country and say Texas is ours now. That doesn't equate in terms of foreign affairs. And because of that, even if there was abuse of Russian-speaking people in Ukraine, I don't believe that that's a reason that Russia should have just attacked them.
Okay. I'm going to give you one question for each side.
Sure. Just to be clear, I'm here on a hyper-nuanced position that there might be a world where...
I will say, I think it is not analogous to compare Mexico and Russia in a situation like that, simply because of the fact, let's say that was happening, it would be expected of a nation like Russia, who is like hyper fucking nationalistic. Like Russian and Ukrainians, or mostly Eastern Europeans, don't think in terms of like ethnicity. They think in terms, or they don't think in terms of like nationality, but they think in terms of ethnicity. So they compare the Russian ethnicity to their nationality, and they're like hyper fucking like ethno-nationalist in a way. So like it makes sense if Ukraine was doing that, why Russia would invade. But the fact of the matter is, Ukraine didn't do that. The idea of Russian persecution in Ukraine was pushed by Russian state media that leaked its way into Western media.
Sevastopol is leased or something to Russia because they like that port and it's really important to them. I don't know if reasonably they'd ever lose extra place. That's the only reason I'm hearing stuff over there. But I guess maybe my question then would be, I don't know how familiar you are with the details of everything, but Sevastopol is one of Russia's few warm water ports that they have access to in Crimea. Do you think that it's possible that Russia could, let's say Russia says, we're going to pay full reparations for all of our damage, we're going to restore all of your territorial integrity, we're not even going to own Sevastopol, but we just want like an agreement for like a 99-year lease or something where we have the right to this like piece of territory so that we can use this unobstructed, and then the right to like travel to and from it. Do you think that's like possible for like a just end of the war?
Yeah,
I could
think
see
that's
that being
possible. I
okay.
don't think that would be just giving the
I can see that
land
actually
to
being fine too.
Russia. It's a lease, so it still would belong to Ukraine.
Sure. Okay. It's just one they're being forced into to end the war. But sure, okay, I understand that. And then here's a question I always have for people to talk about justice and both sides have to be unhappy. What is Russia being asked to give up?
I guess in their view would be like the
No, not in
protection
their
of
view,
the
bro.
ethnic Russians and the Russian-speaking people in the area that they feel some sort of loyalty to, considering that they're being persecuted based off their ethnicity or nationality or the language that they speak. And also, I would agree to the land that they have taken to go back to Ukraine if there was some protection set in place that the same things that were happening prior to the war wouldn't happen in the future, right?
So you would agree with an end to the war where all the territory goes back to Ukraine, but there's like a UN peacekeeping force along maybe some of the more ethnically Russian territories?
Well, if it's UN or if it's something, if it's a way that feels fair and protective, sure. I mean, I don't know what the details of that would be, but yeah, I'm open to that, absolutely. I'm not like completely dogmatic about this, but I think that that's an actual issue of ethnic minorities being persecuted.
Okay. I have to say this, my Ukrainian friends will kill me. I don't think that's ever was the case. I don't think it's true that they were being persecuted in
Yeah,
Russia.
they're not.
I just have to get that out there. But
It's not true. I think I was silly. I wish they had a better pro-Russian. Not really. I hate seeing pro-Russians. But she gambled 4 times, so no. Didn't get anything good, rib. You're cooked. That's why we don't gamble. The like the Russian propaganda is just it's so shallow. Like there isn't even depth to the explanation of the arguments. It's like Ukraine was building biohealth labs on the border. Well, it's like, okay, what were those there actually for? Well, they were there to increase healthcare access and like administrative pharmaceuticals in eastern Ukraine. They weren't there to build nuclear fucking weapons. Okay, that's not what they were there for. Which is, it takes like 3 seconds to even realize that. And that's like the extent of the argument. Well, NATO imperialism. Well, okay, Russia literally signed an agreement saying that they're fine with NATO enlargement. Okay, well, there's the end of that one. Legal ousting of Yanukovych. Well, you know, he did kind of flee and embezzle money into Russia. We have proof that he was collaborating with Russian officials during his reign because the Kremlin literally posted their conversations while he was president. Okay, well, there's the end of that one. Like, it's just like each one of these, it's just that simple. Like, the best arguments that they have is like Azov Brigade, and I don't even know what else would be like relatively decent. Like Azov Brigade, I could maybe see an argument, and then that's like it. But the majority of pro-Ukrainian people either disavow Azov or they're like super fucking naive to what Azov really is. And even so, I think disavowing Azov is enough because the brigade doesn't have that much control over the country. It is definitely problematic, but at the same time, there isn't enough to warrant an entire fucking invasion. It's perfectly reasonable to try to address the problem of Azov without, slaughtering Ukrainians. Republican hate Trump. That's good to hear. I'm glad about that. I feel like the majority of like reasonable conservatives should hate Trump. I mean, he doesn't. I specifically say conservative rather than a Republican because like conservative values just don't align with what Donald Trump is by any means, by being religious, by being traditional values, more homogenous culture, just like things like that. Usually traditional marriages, just like simple things. And he is entirely outside of the homogenous culture antithetical to all of those. He isn't religious. He says he is, and then in the past, he also says that he's never repented in his whole life, which is pretty big. I mean, he said that in like 2021 after he did all the bullshit that like insane shit that he pulled in the past. Most of it's just for show, it seems. He cheated on his wives, one of them while she was pregnant, burying one of his wives on a golf course to make it tax exempt. Like, he's entirely antithetical to like what conservative values are. He's antithetical to what liberal values are. It's like this man represents fucking nothing except for evil. It's 4 a.m. But I'm also not that tired. You're gambling again, rip. Well, good luck with that. Roy Conifel. I don't know who that is, but I assume if he's friends with him, he's probably pretty bad. Even though you're clear. Gotcha. That makes sense. That makes sense. My luck was bad. I wished you bad luck on Secret. I'm sorry, Jazz. Yeah, I saw that. I was obviously really bad. Um, I think there was another case too. Pretty sure. Yeah, fair enough. Dude, Dude, there's two judges now have been arrested. One of them, I'm pretty sure, did not have any reasonable evidence to suggest that they did anything illegal, and he still arrested them. And we also have a report from, I think, an attorney who said there is really high chance that we have already deported an American citizen with no due process. So far, there's no, like, we have strong suspicion with the rest of the documents. Technically, they're not taken into court yet, so we can't assume or say that for sure. But it's pretty reasonable to assume that we've already deported an American citizen because they got no due process. Okay, I think I'm going to head off. I'm starting to get tired. I'll be back on later. I'll hopefully go live earlier today so I can get more debates. Also sub to the YouTube. It's just hex HEX, or the @ is EC_X. Join the Discord. It's in my bio. Alright, bye guys. Love everyone. Okay, YouTube, I'm gonna go ahead and hop off. Appreciate anyone that stopped by, of course. We'll be back tomorrow.